Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Etsy Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Ijama. And right before we jump into our conversation, I just wanted to let you know that if you would like to support the podcast, you can do so at convome.com/support. There, you'll be able to buy me a coffee or two. And for additional perks, you can become a monthly podcast supporter. Again, that's convome.com/support. And now onto the episode. My guest this week is Sue Monhait. She is the founder of Gift Biz Unwrapped. And in her business, what she does is help women start and grow handmade product businesses from their hobbies or their crafts. And so in our conversation today, we're going to be talking all about what Sue does and how she can help you as an Etsy seller grow beyond Etsy and just make your business what you aspire it to be. Sue, thank you so much for being my guest and welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Jana, thank you so much for inviting me to this show. And I'm already going to support you. I'm buying you coffee next time I'm in Denver. How about that?
That sounds wonderful. Coffee in person is so much better.
Yes, absolutely. We can even get one of those fancy ones if you
I know, with the foam, right?
want. Yeah.
So thank you, Sue, so much for taking the time to chat with me. And can you first tell us a little bit about you and how Gift Biz Unwrapped came to be?
Sure. So I'm located in Chicago. Interestingly, while we're recording this, I know it's going to be June when it's airing, but you're getting the snow and we aren't. So that's a little bit of a switch up.
Yeah.
So I'm based in a northern suburb of Chicago, and I actually have two different businesses. One is called the Ribbon Print Company. It's a product-based business, and we sell systems allowing lots of Etsy shop owners actually the ability to custom print on ribbon to apply to their products. Or we actually have some people who sell on Etsy who their whole business is offering and selling custom printed ribbon. And I bring all that up because that's actually what led me to Gift Biz Unwrapped.
Mm-hmm.
When I started the ribbon print company, my biggest way of selling is out at trade shows because we're mostly business to business,
Mm-hmm.
business to smaller businesses, even business to larger businesses, but B2B.
Mm-hmm.
And at trade shows, people would come up to the booth. And of course, we're custom printing ribbon all day long. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we are a very popular booth at the
Yes.
shows. But people would come up and they would either be interested in buying the printer or they would say to me, gosh, I really, really want to do this when I start my business or when I have enough money to invest in this for my business.
Mm.
And that would inevitably lead to these conversations about business development. And that's where I really identified, oh my gosh, there are so many people out there who want some help in understanding how to start their business. And I knew all of that from my corporate days. So here I felt like I had all of this information, not even realizing that people needed it. And when I would engage in those conversations at the trade shows, I loved doing it. So that is, in essence, what led to Gift Biz Unwrapped in total. And from there, it's just grown and grown and grown.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the ribbon print company, you mentioned that people said they would either want, well, you mentioned something about a machine or the service. How does the ribbon print company work? Is it a product that you sell that a business can buy and then make their own custom ribbons, or is it a service you provide where they send you the information and then you print and then ship to them?
I'm so glad you asked for clarification because it is a little confusing. We don't print ribbon for people.
Okay.
Our customers do. So we sell the printer, the software, supplies,
Oh.
the training on, troubleshooting and, understanding how to use the system
Mm-hmm.
so that our customers can either print ribbon that they use in the products that they make, or offer printed ribbon to their customers, if that makes sense. So we're the source, but they provide the service. And I have to tell you, even way back in 2009, during the recession of that time,
Uh-huh.
we had, I'm not going to say many because not everyone says it to us, but we had several people saying, oh my gosh, it was the ribbon printing abilities that kept me in business. And for
Really?
me, that's all I need to hear about why we run our business, to help others be successful in theirs. So both the Ribbon Print Company and Gift Biz Unwrapped are aligned to a similar cause, strengthening businesses, providing either products, services, information, courses, whatever it might be, to help small business owners.
Okay. And so you currently still do run the Ribbon Print Company.
Yes.
Okay,
Sure
wonderful.
do.
So
Yeah.
that's good because not only are you teaching other women how to run their businesses, you're doing it. So you understand the changes in the market and the changes that are going on in the economy that will affect or that currently are affecting other business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of the credibility too. It's just, I'm still in a product based business
Hmm.
um, as well.
Okay.
So, absolutely agree with you there.
So enter Gift Biz Unwrapped. Where does one begin to understand what they can get help with, and at what stage in one's business should an owner turn to you or come to you for help?
I actually have people coming at every single stage.
Okay.
The very first thing is listening to my podcast, just like you, like when you talk
Yes.
about Etsy and starting Etsy, it's great if you have some background information before you get started. But the fact
Yes.
is, a lot of people, I'm sure, Jama, you see the same thing, is they come to you when they get stuck and they're struggling
Yeah. Hmm.
versus when they first start.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's very similar to me with my small handmade business creators, is that many times, well, that's, some people will come to me right when they're getting started because they're afraid, they're not sure what to do to get started.
Yeah.
And I hear this frequently. I don't know if you hear the same thing, that they're almost paralyzed and afraid to start because they think that if they do it the wrong way, they're doomed.
It's all messed up.
From the
Yes.
beginning, they're
Yes.
doomed.
Yeah.
And the fact is that's not true. You're not
Hmm.
doomed. But it could be a harder road. If you
Hmm.
miss a couple of things in the beginning, it could take you longer, or you can be met with some friction. But there's no wrong way in my mind to start other than not even starting at all,
Yeah.
is really what I think. So, to get back to your question, I have a lot of people who um, will come to me at the beginning and then we step them through. And that's the beautiful place to be, because then we walk through every single stage of business development.
Hmm.
But the real truth is, the majority of people come after they've tried it themselves and they're stuck, or they're frustrated, or they're almost ready to give up because they're not making any money and they want to,
Yeah.
they don't want their dream to go away, you know?
Yes.
So, and then people stay because we're a fun group to hang out with and there's always new learning to be
Yeah.
had, obviously. So,
Yes. And I like that you do that with the podcast as well. And for anyone who wants to check out Sue's podcast, it's called Gift Biz Unwrapped, just like the name of her business. And I like that you offer different things with the podcast. You have episodes that are just tips and talk, where you pick a topic and then you talk about that. And can you tell us also what the bash episodes are about? I know, but I want you to tell that person who's listening who doesn't yet know what a bash episode is.
I'm so excited that you asked me about this, because the history of the podcast is that I was I started my podcast. I'm in my 8th year now. I'm starting into my 8th year, and for the first
Congratulations.
three,
It's not
Thank you.
easy.
Thank you. No, it's not. But for the first 3 years, I had nothing to sell at all. I was making zero money. It was truly providing information to the
Mhm.
community,
Mhm.
nothing. And then as I started going, then and really understanding who was coming in and what was going on. Then, of course, I started developing courses and all of that. But now today, having been podcasting for so long, honestly, I needed to freshen up too. Like, it was getting to be the same old thing even for me as the host.
Yeah.
So about a year ago, I started Tips and Talk because I decided I'm not just going to have guests on. I want guests because I can't possibly be up to date with everything. Like, I can't be up to date with all the know in Etsy
Mhm.
and Amazon and all the social media platforms. Like, I need to
Mhm.
bring in people for my audience who know those things.
Yeah.
But I also have a lot to say. Can you tell?
No.
so, so I decided, you know what? I'm going to add a second small midweek little episode that talks like that lets me talk for a minute,
Yeah.
of things that I'm seeing
Mhm.
within my community or opinions that I have about what's going on or, whatever the topic is. That's kind of like my free for all, but they're very short episodes.
Yeah.
I started the bash because so there's the bash and I might even tell you what else is coming with the bash.
Ooh.
You'll have to
Pry it
ask
out of
me
you.
something. You'll have to ask me. I don't know. Anyway, I don't even know what I mean by that. But so one of the biggest things I hear from everybody, people who are just starting, people who have been in business for a while, and even people who have been in business for years, there's never enough eyeballs on our business,
Mm.
right? There
Yeah.
you never get enough people who see your brand, who come into the top of the funnel, if you will,
Mhm.
or anywhere else. You're always looking for more people who potentially could buy your product. And
Yes.
so that like because when I ask people like what do you want help with, it's always more sales. Well, more
Mhm.
sales is the end result of more visibility,
Yes.
right? So you got to start with the more visibility. So that's why I started the bashes, because all of a sudden I came to this realization that, gosh, I have a whole audience of people who are listening. Now, granted, they're all makers, but let's pretend I made candles, okay?
Mhm.
I don't also make jewelry or pottery or knitted items or, essential oils, things like that,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
I would still be in the market to buy those products from somebody. And why aren't we buying and supporting each other?
Yeah.
So that's where I thought about this bash. And so what the bashes are, I'm actually recording. Well, let's see. By the time this airs, I think I'll have 3 of them up so far. And virtually what it does is people can sign up for the bash. Anyone who is a handmade product business creator
Yeah.
can sign up for a bash. So let me just tell you where before I get started. It's giftbizunwrapped.com/bash.
Okay.
Totally free, totally free. And what happens on these episodes is I do a little bit of training in the beginning, and then I have a number of people, and right now I've limited it to 20, but I feel like 20 is even too many
Huh.
for each individual bash, because what happens at the end is everyone gets a chance to showcase themselves,
Okay.
who they are, what their business is, where people can find a promotion that they have going on. I've had some people giving sales codes, special sales
Mm.
codes
Yeah.
for a short time. And we've also had people not using it as a sales opportunity, but they're looking for partners to do collaboration
Collaborations.
with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an opportunity for, like I said, only 20 per episode, because the podcast would be like 2 hours if we kept
Yeah.
going, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I need to keep it to a reasonable amount of time, but where people can say what they do, get visibility from the listeners, but I'm also seeing those who have become on the bashes are connecting with each other to a deeper level too.
Yeah.
So, it's brand new. It's going really well. Um, Never do all the people who sign up actually show
Show
up,
up.
which is
Yes.
typical. That's just how it happens. So I'm playing with the numbers a little bit,
Yeah.
but I'm really getting a good vibe about what this is doing for people. And
S-
the other thing that's nice about listeners, I'll just finish with this. Can you tell I'm excited about these bashes? But the other thing for listeners is they get to see how other people are presenting themselves. And they might also see what other people are doing for promotions or that they're out at shows that might be right in their area
mhm.
where they can go and visit and meet someone and say, "Hey, I just heard you on the bash. I'm so and so." And
Yes.
then, you can buddy up and be mentors to each other with your businesses. So I see a lot of opportunity to connect with these bashes.
Sue, can I just say when I was because I before we when I knew we were going to talk, of course I looked on your website to see what you were doing just to inform the conversation that we were going to have. And
Mm-hmm.
when I saw your bash episodes, because of course, I knew it was podcast related, so that stood out to me. I'm like, hey, what's this? And I thought, this is brilliant. Like, why did I never think of doing this in all the years of doing the podcast? And I think it's just a genius thing that you're doing for business owners who listen, because more than anything, the first thing that struck me with that was, one, yes, people will come on and they get some education from you directly, but then also the value in being able to talk about their businesses and discover other businesses that they could potentially collaborate with, and within that particular bash, but then also for people listening who might not have attended that, discovering other businesses that are complementary to what they're doing, that they could potentially reach out to, either to offer services or to use their services, I thought was just a brilliant idea. And I was like, man, I should skim that knowledge and do something, because I know it's helpful for sellers when they appear on podcasts like this. I frequently will hear from Etsy sellers who appear on the podcast about you know how it affected their store traffic and sales and all whatnot. And I don't want to harp too much on that, but I think you know what I mean. And so to be
Mm-hmm.
able to do an episode where it's strictly just shops promoting themselves and other shops, and people listen specifically for that reason, to hear about who's out there and what are they doing, and is there any way I can work with them, I think it's just genius.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And I kind of feel like you already do it a little bit, Ijama, because don't you at the end of every single episode ask like what are your favorite shops, or are there other
I
shops
do.
besides yours?
I
Are you going to
do.
ask me later? Are you going to ask me later?
I will ask you for sure.
Good. Good, good.
Yes, yes, I do. And that was part of it, was let's help other people, let's send you know int- shed some light on other people and what they're doing. And I know that's been a part of the podcast that has been really very well received, just because it's just always nice to give, and so to have others give to others is it's just a good thing. Okay, so again,
Absolutely.
the Sue's podcast is Gift Biz Unwrapped. It's available anywhere you listen to podcasts, and please go check out her podcast.
Yes, come hang out with me too.
Yes. So Sue, in addition to what you do on the podcast, what other services does Gift Biz Unwrapped offer to women business owners? I know you have some free resources as well as some paid resources. Um, can you tell us what products you offer and how they might fit in specifically for Etsy sellers, how they would be helpful to them?
Sure. My approach that this really comes from my training and what I feel I can best offer people.
Mhm.
Coming from my corporate life where I worked with a number of really large brands and
Mhm.
also some boutique shops, but is looking at a business in totality, of every single element of the business and how it all comes together
Mhm.
to work the best that it possibly can and offer a stable, solid business.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're going to talk about where Etsy fits in. So I think I will just answer your question first off. But I have a few mini courses that anyone who wants to go on the website, it's the same name, Gift Biz Unwrapped, can take a look at. By the way, if you're just starting out, I have a free webinar that is called Five Not So Obvious Mistakes for When You're Just Starting.
Mm.
Totally free. You can find that, over on the website. But I have some small courses that um, cover things that I see as stumbling blocks for people at different levels of their business. One is about networking, meaning face to face networking, whether it's chamber meetings, learning how to talk with people at even craft shows or conferences, that type of thing.
Yeah.
I have how to set up and sell a face in a Facebook environment. Um, I don't have anything on Etsy because I don't claim to be the specialist. I know where my lane is, and it's not there.
Yeah.
But one of my most popular, very inexpensive programs is called Content for Makers because I asked my Facebook community, what do you need the most help with? Where do you feel like you're spending a lot of time and not getting the return? And it was all social media posting. Everyone was saying that they're just so frustrated. And when I dug down, I saw that what people were doing is more and more of what I say is the wrong thing. And so
Interesting.
they were just spinning their wheels, thinking if they did more, it'll get them the results. Where actually understanding what you're doing that's wrong, that should be revised, and then doing it differently doesn't make you put in more time. It makes you focus on the things that you really could do that will bring in, attract customers, keep customers along the way with you, and then buy when they're ready to buy. So
Yeah.
that's all included in a program called Content for Makers.
So,
And
can
then
I
the one
ask
other,
you about that before you
sure,
move on?
sure.
So, in the content for makers, are you focusing primarily on social media content or content as a whole, including blogging and other types of content creation, perhaps
It's
podcasting too?
Yeah, it's focused primarily on social media,
Okay.
but I even say there that a lot of what you uncover, it's virtually a structure of how to put your content together for, Facebook, Instagram, like whatever your platform is.
Okay.
However, the way I do it, you can pick and choose from there, and they are excellent topics for blog posts,
Okay.
videos, even videos and reels, all
Okay.
of it. But I'm really focusing, and I'm talking specifically about social media, but I'm not going in like, how do you post on Facebook?
Yeah.
I'm assuming people know how to do that. This is specifically talking about, what do you do?
Yes.
And starting with, what were you probably not doing right at this point, which has led you to so much frustration,
Mm,
at
okay.
the time. So, and it's a mini course. I call it a mini course. You buy it one time and you've got it forever.
Mhm.
It's only $27. It's little.
Okay.
It's little in price, but big in impact. Let me say that.
Yes.
So,
And more, I'm all for these smaller but hyper focused courses because
mhm.
then you feel like you've accomplished something because you get through it, you get out of it exactly what was, promised, and then
Yeah,
you move
yeah.
on because you've accomplished
You go
something.
through this course. You go through this course. You have a full year of content done.
Whoa.
Done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
It takes about a couple hours. You just block yourself off in your afternoon. Don't look at phone messages or don't go on the social platforms.
Yeah.
Just block a couple hours and
Uh-huh.
literally you can get it all done. So,
Okay.
but then I do have to say, I would be doing a disservice to myself
Uh-huh.
if I didn't, and also other people just to know, I also have a big signature program called Makers MBA,
Yes.
where we literally go through start to finish everything in your business, literally everything. And I've had people go through, I had one student who is part after you go through Makers MBA, you have an opportunity to come into a VIP group, and we meet weekly in our VIP group. But I had one person in there who's launching a new product actually. And she's like, Sue, I'm going through Makers MBA all over again, only with this new product in mind.
Oh.
And meanwhile, she has a bakery. And meanwhile, she already has a well established business, but she's like, there are just things I'm looking at it differently as I'm looking specifically at a product.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
that's Maker's MBA. That's the first course I created because I wanted that holistic, how can I help them with everything that I know as a foundation for a business? And
Yeah.
then I went back and then did the mini programs on some of these smaller courses.
Okay.
So
And to be clear, are the resources, the courses, the Makers MBA that you offer only relevant to people who have product-based businesses?
Um, that's a challenging question
Hmm.
because I'm going to say, you're not going to like this answer. I'm going to
Okay.
say yes and no. I'm going to
Okay.
say yes and no. The reason I say yes is it is specifically focused on people with product based businesses.
Okay.
Um, because inevitably there are different challenges with product based businesses, the
Hmm.
pricing and handmade product businesses at that, because that is my specialty. Not as much products that are made in a factory somewhere, but you
Right.
know when you are also making or have a group or a community that's making for you,
Hmm.
that affects pricing, that
Yeah.
affects your time, that affects the role you play in your business. So that's where I would say yes. Where I'll
Okay.
say no is clearly email marketing, website development, getting
Yeah.
your name out, social media, like a lot of those foundational things
Hmm.
exist and span across all businesses.
Okay. Okay. So that makes sense then. Now, a
Yeah.
lot of Etsy sellers also sell digital products, so
Mm-hmm.
printables or templates that aren't physically tangible but are a product themselves. Would that also would they also be good candidates for what you offer if their products aren't physical?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I mean, I look at the digital products in two ways.
Hmm.
Um, some they're only digital products, so they're selling, let's say, digital downloads for somebody else to be adding to a t-shirt or something like that,
Yes. Uh-huh.
or they might be in addition to products that they sell. I'm thinking of a particular knitter, actually several of them, who sell products that they make and also sell patterns,
Yes. Yes.
so it's a combined thing.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And I love the fact, especially for handmade, and this is another kind of nuance of handmade, is that people are reaching out beyond just their tangible products that they sell to
Hmm.
offer workshops and downloadables, instructions, maybe even the kits that include all of the elements to make
Yeah.
something,
Yes.
accompanied with a video, like all of these other opportunities to bring in additional income over and above just the product that they make is
Yes.
very exciting.
Okay, good. Now, I have to show love to my vintage sellers because it's Etsy.
Do it.
All right. Let's talk about vintage sellers. These are people who sell one of a kind items,
Mhm.
things that are not handmade per se, but they are physical and they're running thriving businesses selling things that you just can't find anymore. So even though they're not necessarily a specific product line, um, because of the nature of being one of a kind, is this also something that you see? them being able to expand beyond Etsy and grow. And is that something that you also cater? Is that the type of business that you also would cater to?
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
I
encouraging.
have, yeah, I mean, I think that's exciting in and of itself because there's the element of if you like this piece, you got to grab it now before somebody else does because I'm not can't make it again.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I actually just had somebody on my podcast who's done something exactly like this. She's actually a mastermind sister of mine. It's episode number 367, and her company is called Weed Patch Studio. And she takes one of, now it's not, well, it maybe you would call it vintage. She's taking old furniture and refinishing it and making it new again. And her work is beautiful. And I'm not talking like little like jewelry cases or something. I'm talking big, huge furniture and sets and like all of that. And do you want to know? She can barely keep up with her sales. Like the people are buying this like crazy. And I think it's because she really brings home the fact that it's one of a kind.
Yes. Okay.
Jewelry, same thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
vintage by can't remember the name of this woman, and I know her, and it's just I'm not finding it. But jewelry that is one of a kind.
Okay. So,
I can't think of it. I can't think of her name. So I guess I won't be able to speak to that right
and that's
now. You'll
fine
have to edit
because
that part
because
out. But
in the show notes for this episode, in the resources, I will link to it. So I'll talk with Sue after, and then I'll have those particular episodes and put them in the show notes. So if anyone wants to go and check those out and listen to those specific episodes, at least first of all, so you get an idea of how this can work if you are in a one of a kind type of Etsy shop right now, then you can listen to those episodes and maybe get some ideas before you dive right in. So I will link to those after, if you don't
I
have them
actually
in this.
might be able to pull it up here. I
Okay.
love when things work. So
Nice.
I don't know if you have this for your podcast, Ijama, but I have this um app where people can search. Like if they go to giftbizunwrapped.com/search and they search for any term, episodes come up that have that term in it. So I went in and I searched vintage and I found it. It's episode number 214. The
Great.
company is Vintage Meet Modern. And Veronica um, is the one that I was referencing who sells vintage jewelry. Her history and experience is all in the knowledge of like a lot of really interesting information behind each piece. And you can hear it in this episode.
Mm.
And she does live selling shows. They used to be Wednesday nights. I don't know if they still are,
Oh,
but
like she sells live on social media.
she sells live on I think it's Facebook.
Okay.
And you go and literally if someone buys that piece before you, too
It's
bad
gone.
there's not another one.
Yes.
Um, so I think there's huge opportunity for that particular one of a kind sector for sure. All the vintage.
Yes. Okay. Well, that's good,
So
and that's encouraging to know. And it's funny you mentioned selling live because that has always intrigued me. How people are able to sell live. I've just always wondered. Well, how do you get people to come and watch you live and then buy? I mean, buying I think is the easy part because if you have a good product and something people want, they'll buy it. But
mhm.
it's just always intrigued me how people get the audience to show up live and bid and buy. And anyway, another
Well,
conversation.
I have another resource. I have someone else for you. For anybody who's listening who wants to see a live show done extremely well, go to Adrian's boutique. Vicky Adrian has a team of 3 or 4 people, and they do live selling shows every single day, every single day for
Wow.
an hour. And it's they have you know, um, perfected it over time. She's
Yeah.
actually also been on my podcast. We've talked about those shows, so you could look for those episodes also.
Okay.
But but just go on and watch one of her shows, and you'll see they do like a teaser in the morning before a show, and then they go on for an hour and sell. It's incredible.
And they do this on
It's
Facebook?
uh-huh. Yeah,
Wow.
they do it on Facebook. They also have an app. And she's just it's a great demonstration, and they do it so well, and they're so personable.
Yeah.
And I mean, remember, they started out kind of clunky and figuring it out and
Yes.
learning, but it's all live, and it's wonderful.
And
So that's a great example.
is that adriansboutique.com? Is that where?
I believe so. Let me just look here. ADRIANS
Oh,
Boutique,
ANS.
adriansboutique.com.
So for our just this Etsy audience, because right now everyone who's selling on Etsy is running a business online. Are there any specific or particularly good marketing tactics that you can recommend for us?
Yes. Yes. First, I will back up and close this topic about Adrian's Boutique. If you go to Adrian's Boutique on Facebook, you'll find it. They have, and you'll see on their header, they do, when all their shows are and all that. You can go see it, but so they have all that information over on Facebook. So I'll
Okay.
just let that be there. But
Okay.
again, excellent if you want to see a very well done live
Live
show.
show.
Now, it doesn't mean you're going to do every day like they are. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
she's got it going really great. And like Veronica only did or does once a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I haven't gotten an update. I didn't know we were going to talk about her, but I haven't gotten an update about what she's doing recently. But she was just doing once a week. So you do what's right for you,
Yeah. Yes.
But so jumping over to websites and e-commerce and getting an audience and growing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a huge advocate, and it's not just because I'm on your podcast, but I'm a huge advocate, especially if you've never really done anything online before, starting with something that is the easiest to set up, which I feel is definitely Etsy. You have, they have the platforms and everything prepared and ready. It doesn't mean you don't need to work the shop. That's for sure.
Right.
You still need to become proficient in how Etsy does things and all that. And I don't need to preach on that because you know that way better than I do. But I think starting off with Etsy is a great way to go for handmade. And I also really like the latest announcement about keywords and making sure that titles and descriptions are strong for Google search.
Yes. I think that's like the best news all year so far.
Yes, I agree. And we've been preaching that for a long time, Etsy or elsewhere. But I guess I'll admit that I didn't realize that it wasn't as strong as it is now, that it had to be a major announcement. But I think that that's fabulous. I think it's great. But in answer to your question about going back to e-commerce now,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every platform, it's not just, well, should I be on Etsy or should I have my own website? Or should I sell on Amazon or should I be Facebook shops? Every single platform has its own personality and attracts its own audience. Mm-hmm. So people that you're going to find on Etsy would be different than people maybe you'll find if you set up a Facebook or an Instagram shop. So I think that as you start to grow, not putting these all up at one time because it would be a nightmare and you'll do nothing right, but there's nothing wrong with having multiple channels online. Mm-hmm. We're not even talking about offline right now, just online, where you'll get exposed to different audiences who can then buy your product. It's not one or the other.
Okay.
And I think that's really important. I mean, social media, yes, they have their shops there, but also social media is a funnel then also to your store too. So if you're posting and you're directing people, like probably on Instagram, you're directing people to your Etsy shop.
Mm-hmm.
That's the link that you use in your description, right?
Yeah.
So, but integrating in multiple places where people can come find you
Mm-hmm.
is valuable online and a way to grow.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
That did. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that I love right up front on your website is you have your I know there's a phrase for it, like your mission
Oh,
statement.
gifters, bakers, crafters, makers. Is that what you're talking about?
No, where I like
Oh.
that too, but where you say, "Hi, I'm Sue and I help women start and grow a handmade product business from their hobby or craft."
Mhm.
I have to come in support of the men who listen to this podcast. Do you help or will you help a man if he were to reach out, say for a VIP day with Sue, who also has a handmade product business and maybe wants to have a session with you? Or do you strictly work with women?
I definitely, I've actually got dinged for that before. There was a gentleman who wanted to join the Facebook group,
Yeah.
and he's like, "What the heck? Is it only for women?" And I'm like, "No, you're welcome. Of course,
Yes.
you're welcome to
Yes.
come." Like it's not true, but 99.99% of
Yeah.
people that I'm working with are women,
Yes.
and so I say that I'm totally inclusive. At some point, I thought of pulling that off, but the fact is that is really the audience that I get.
Yes.
And I think that, it's also an important lesson for our businesses is, you want to really target in on who your correct customer is,
Yeah.
who is attracted the most, and that your product best serves.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean there's not a second ring of people right around there
Yeah.
who are also going to be great for your customer, but or for your product. But the more you make your description vanilla, the less people feel that it applies to them, that
Yes.
they've landed in the right place.
Yes. And
So,
I agree with you. I think it's great because you know who you're targeting, but then there will always be people outside of that tight circle that you speak to as well, and that will be drawn to you also. And so yeah, I just wanted to make that clear for anyone who happened to land on your website, a man who might happen to land on your website from listening to this podcast and think, oh, wait.
nope, you are more than welcome.
Yes.
More than welcome.
Sue, one of the things that you offer, and I just want to touch on this before as we wrap up, is a VIP day. What does that
Mhm.
entail, and who is that for?
Well, I do two different things. The way I'm working one on one, I
Mm-hmm.
do a VIP day, or I do a strategy session,
Mm-hmm.
which is specifically one on one. What do you need help with? And we just get rocking with an hour of conversation, but
Okay.
specifically what you need to figure out. Because I want people to walk away knowing what they can do next to move their business forward. So that's my strategy session. And then the VIP day is definitely an investment. No question about it. I
Mm-hmm.
ask for a lot of information beforehand, again, so that we can really, really set a business up for success. And the
Okay.
people that I find taking the VIP days are people who are just like, okay, I have put my hand in so many different corners of my business. I
Yeah.
am so confused at this point.
Yes.
I'm not even sure like anymore what I'm doing. And so we take it all the way back from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
and build it up almost like my Makers MBA program does,
Mm-hmm.
but build it up specifically. Where are the holes? What have you done? Okay, that's perfect. What's next?
Mm-hmm.
Is this missing? Do we need it? And virtually look, we kind of it's kind of like a physical, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
We diagnose everything, put things together. We'll go in and do work on this on websites if that's where we really need to go and dive in. Whatever we need to do, And it's very intense. It is a long day, but you walk away really, really feeling like things have come together,
Okay.
and your foundation. Like, it doesn't mean that there aren't some things you still need to work on and get done,
Mm-hmm.
but everything is cohesive now, and there's a plan, and it's all coming together versus just feeling like you have a bag of puzzle pieces that are on the floor.
Yeah.
You have a lot of the parts, but you have no idea how it all fits together or what you're missing.
Okay. Is this a good option for someone at the very beginning who just wants to make sure that out the gate they do it right? Or is it better for someone who has tried in the past and realizes where they fall short so they come knowing what holes they need help plugging?
It's for somebody who wants the answers fast,
Okay.
can make the investment and wants the answers fast.
Okay.
Quite honestly, Maker's MBA is the best place for somebody in the beginning,
Okay.
or somebody who wants to make an investment. I mean, my Maker's MBA is not a small investment, but then you have that content forever.
Yeah.
And then it leads into the VIP group. You can't enter the VIP group unless you've gone through Maker's MBA,
Okay.
because I don't want to go back training things that everybody else already knows,
Right. Right.
Um, and so it really depends. But if people are curious and they want to know if it's for them or which way they should go,
Mm-hmm.
then they can definitely chat with me. We can talk about it. It doesn't, you know, they don't have to make that decision by themselves. So
Okay.
if anyone is listening and is interested in knowing more, then reach out to me and we can talk about it.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is one last piece of information or advice you want to leave with that business owner who's listening right now and wants to know what next? What would you say to that person?
Um, well, what's next depends on where you are in the business.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a little bit harder to answer. But what I do want to say, and I'm really working hard to get this message out, is that handmade has been in our lifestyle since the beginning of time. And like, if you want to go back to cavemen who were making tools so that they
Oh,
could
yeah.
get food.
Yes.
And you go to the colonies when America was formed. What did we have? We had someone who was a baker and made shoes for us and taught. All of those things are handmade skill and individual skills.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like handmade creators undervalue the importance of the products that they give us. And I want everybody to just really take to heart and recognize that you're providing something that people will pay for. It's in it, and we should not diminish our value or second guess ourselves when we're presenting what we are creating and making and the value that it provides our customers. I think it's super special. It's very important.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't talked about this, but I'm really working hard for all of us as makers to really believe this in our heart about what I was just saying.
Mm-hmm.
And towards that end, I created a national day for us. It's January 21st, and it's called National Bakers, Crafters, Makers Day. You could Google that and you'll find all the information about it. But we celebrate it. We celebrate it all
Oh.
during January, but we celebrate it for sure on the 21st. And it's the mindset and the mentality and how special and unique and important you are as a handmade creator.
Mm.
And I think if I were to leave a message, it's there, depending on where you are in your business, there are different next steps. But if you haven't gotten this initial mindset part yet, that is your next step, is
Mm.
really recognizing and understanding the value that you offer so that you can state it with confidence out when you're creating words that you're going to put on your website, when you're out at a booth at a craft show talking about your products.
Mm-hmm.
If the passion isn't coming from you, your customers will never understand it.
Yeah.
You have to be the one behind pushing it forward.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for saying that because I think it's so important, and I think one of the things that a lot of makers feel is because something comes so naturally and so easy to them, that there isn't that much value, that other people wouldn't be willing to pay money for it, when in actuality the fact that other people can't do it adds the value to what you're able to do that the rest of us can't.
You're so right. I mean, because it comes easier for us, we think everybody can do it, and it's not true.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sue, do you have any shout outs that you want to give? And they
I
don't have to
do.
be Etsy shops, anyone.
Nope, I do. I have a few Etsy shops that I want to shout out
Oh,
for sure.
great.
Because it's your special Etsy podcast after all. So I have I have actually four shops that I'd like to shout out if that's okay.
Wonderful. Yes.
Um, One is Cassie's Cupboard. So Cassies, Cassie's Cupboard. She makes mixes like soup mixes, bread mixes,
Oh, wow.
spice mixes. Her garlic beer bread, I cannot keep it in the house. My husband always wants to know that we have at least three of them ready and waiting, or I have to restock. I'm not even kidding
Oh,
you. It
wow.
is delicious. So that's one. Another one is Calico Caps. If you're into visors or baseball caps, but you want a gorgeous, colorful, unique design, then you have to go visit Anna's site. There are so many different versions. They're beautiful. In fact, I think she's just put up some new ones. I have to go check that out.
Nice.
It's in my calendar to check out because summer's coming and we need those sun
Yeah.
visors.
So that's Calico Caps.
Calico Caps.
Yeah. Okay.
And then another one that I like to point out is CCK Studio. This is Cindy's site, and she's a knitter. You'll see she makes some really adorable items for babies. But my very favorite thing of hers, I think on her Etsy site, she has her little bears, but she makes animals and people all knitted and they're or crocheted, I guess I should say. And they are beyond gorgeous.
Wow.
She's part of my Facebook group, Gift Biz Breeze, and every single time she puts a picture up, and you can also follow her on Instagram, but it just makes my heart smile. One of these days, I'm going to buy myself a doll from her because a doll that looks like me.
I
I'm
was
going
just
to
about to
admit it.
say, does she fashion them after real people or like,
Yes.
oh, wow. Okay.
Oh my gosh, they are just the cutest, most adorable. I can't speak of them enough. So I had to mention her. And then the final one that I want to tell you about is Rita's site. It's called Gussie It Up Co. So her company is called Gussie It Up, but I guess she had to add the co on for her Etsy shop.
Okay.
She does towels. She does a lot of in-person selling, but she also does some really cool and unique imprinted like dish towels, signs, all different types of things. So you could look at her site too. I think it's actually down for holiday right now. I think she's on vacation this week.
Okay.
Um,
That's fine.
but when this airs, it'll probably be
Maybe
back
back
up.
up. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And as long as it's not shut, I'll be able to link to all these stores.
mm-hmm,
And so
mm-hmm.
whenever they're open, folks can go check them out. So again, everyone, I will have links to each of these stores, but if you are listening and you want to hop on now, it's Cassie's Cupboard, Calico Caps, CCK Studio, and Gussie It Up Co.
You
Yeah,
got
so
it.
go check them out. Let them know Sue sent you, especially if you buy from them. Let them know that you heard from them through Sue.
Through both of us.
Through
Through both of us.
yes. Now, Sue, what's the best way folks can connect with you if they want to reach out?
Well, for sure, listen to my podcast. I'd love for you to hear what we have going on there. And you can connect up with me. A great way would be to join my Facebook group.
Mhm.
We have a group called Gift Biz Breeze. Um, Thousands of all handmade creators who have the best energy and support I can even tell you about.
Mhm.
I love that group so much. Totally free. So if you're interested, you can go in there. When you join, if you give me your email, then you'll start getting my emails. And if you want
Cool.
to reach out to me, why don't you just DM me over on Instagram at Gift Biz Unwrapped? That would be a great
Okay.
way to connect.
Okay. So I will have links to all these to Sue's Instagram account so you can follow her and DM her if you want to reach out. Of course, to her podcast, Gift Biz Unwrapped, and to the Facebook group, Gift Biz Breeze, or The Breeze, as it's also called. And these will
Yes,
all
we,
be in the show notes for this episode.
yeah. And of course, the website also.
Oh yes, giftbizunwrapped.com. For sure there will be a link to that. Sue, thank you so much for spending the time with me and for sharing what you're doing for the handmade business community and the resources that you have. I really do appreciate you taking the time out to chat with me and to share. And also, thank you for your patience in all the time it took to get this conversation to happen.
Oh, no problem at all. It has been my pleasure, Ijama. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You are most welcome. And I thank you for listening to this episode of the podcast. Again, if you would like to support the podcast, please go to convome.com/support. And I will be back with another episode next week.